At some point in life, we all pause and whisper to ourselves, why did this have to happen to me? It could be the breakup that shattered your plans, the illness that rewrote your path, or the loss that left you staring at the ceiling in the dark. Asking questions the world never seems to answer. In those moments, life feels unfair, chaotic, random, almost cruel. We search for meaning in the noise, for a reason behind the pain. But what if the pain was the reason? In the stillness of dawn, when the world hasn't yet decided who you need to be, there's a subtle truth waiting beneath the surface. Nothing happens by accident. Not in the cosmic sense of fate written in stone, but in the quiet, intricate way causes and conditions weave the fabric of your life. Every joy, every heartbreak, every moment of uncertainty, they are not separate stories, but threads of the same tapestry. Buddhism calls this the law of dependent origination, a reminder that everything arises from something else. The smile you give to a stranger today may bloom into kindness years later. The loss that once broke you may become the doorway to wisdom. Life is not punishing or rewarding you. It's teaching you, shaping you, awakening you. So much of our suffering comes from believing that the story should have gone differently. We tell ourselves, if only I had chosen that job, if only I hadn't lost that person, if only I were stronger, wiser, luckier. But what if those wrong turns were the very roads leading you home? Imagine your life as a river, sometimes calm, sometimes violent, sometimes lost in fog. We spend years trying to control its course, terrified it might flow somewhere we don't want to go. Yet when we finally stop fighting the current, we realize it's been carrying us toward the ocean all along. Every twist, every fall, every obstacle was part of the journey. That's what we explore here, on Dharma veins, not philosophy locked in temples or ancient texts, but living wisdom pulsing through the veins of modern life. This is where timeless Buddhist insight meets the raw, beautiful chaos of being human. We ask the hard questions. What is suffering really trying to show us? Why do we keep repeating the same patterns? And how can we find peace not by escaping life, but by seeing it clearly? The Buddha once said that to understand life, you must understand the mind. So together, we'll look inward, into the spaces between thoughts, into the silence beneath our worries, and discover that peace has always been closer than we imagined. Each episode is an invitation to slow down, to breathe, to see your own experiences not as random storms, but as rivers of meaning. Because every moment, the laughter, the loneliness, even the loss, carries the potential to awaken something sacred inside you. Perhaps the question isn't, why did this happen to me? Perhaps the real question is, what is this trying to teach me? As the morning light breaks and the sound of water flows through your screen, let this space be your pause, your refuge from noise, from the chase, from the constant demand to fix what was never broken. Welcome to Dharma Veins, where every story, every wound, every breath reminds you that you were never lost. You were always being guided home. 1. Impermanence, Anicca. When we talk about impermanence, or Anicca, as it's called in Pali, we are not just discussing a poetic truth about time passing. We're touching one of the most radical insights in all of Buddhist philosophy. It means that every single thing we can experience, our thoughts, emotions, possessions, relationships, even our bodies, is in a constant state of transformation. There is no static thing to hold on to. Life is a flowing river, and our suffering begins the moment we try to build a dam within it. Think about it. Every joyful moment you've ever had eventually faded. The laughter ended, the music stopped, the sunset dissolved into darkness. And every painful moment, no matter how unbearable, also passed. But what we humans often do is cling to the joy, trying to freeze it, and resist the sorrow, trying to push it away. That tension between holding and rejecting is what the Buddha called dukkha, the basic unease that runs through existence. We are like someone trying to trap the wind in their hands. The teaching of impermanence isn't meant to be depressing, it's liberating. When you deeply see that everything is transient, you begin to live differently. You savor the warmth of your coffee because you know it will cool. You listen more closely to the voice of someone you love because you know conversations are finite. You even meet difficulties with a softer heart, realizing that they too are temporary visitors. Impermanence doesn't take beauty away, it creates beauty. The cherry blossom is precious precisely because it falls. Western psychology sometimes calls this radical acceptance. But Buddhism has gone further for over 2,500 years. It teaches that the self who clings is also impermanent. There is no fixed me that owns these experiences. There are only waves of causes and conditions appearing and disappearing. When you realize that, the fear of loss begins to loosen its grip. You no longer need the world to stay the same to feel at peace. Modern life, however, is built on the illusion of permanence, career stability, everlasting youth, relationships that never change. We spend enormous energy trying to make the unchanging real. But impermanence will always win. The question is, will we fight it? Or will we flow with it? The Buddha's answer is clear: flow. Let the seasons move through you. Let life breathe in and out. When you sit quietly and watch your own breath, you are witnessing impermanence in its simplest form. Each inhale arises, lasts a moment, and dissolves. The exhale follows. Neither can be held. Meditation trains us to see this truth directly, not as philosophy but as lived reality. And once you see it, you start to understand. Freedom is not in control, it's in harmony with change. Impermanence is the quiet teacher behind every joy and every heartbreak. It whispers, "This too shall pass," but it also reminds you to open your heart while it lasts. Because the leaf that falls is not a tragedy, it's the way the forest stays alive. 2. Karma. Cause and effect. When we talk about karma, most people think of it as some kind of cosmic justice system, an invisible force keeping score, rewarding good deeds and punishing bad ones. But that's not what the Buddha meant. Karma isn't divine bookkeeping. It's cause and effect woven into the fabric of existence. It's the law of psychological gravity. Every thought, word, and action sets energy in motion. And that energy inevitably returns, not as punishment, but as consequence. Imagine throwing a pebble into a still lake. The ripples spread far beyond the point of impact, touching every corner of the surface. That's karma. Every intention we release, kind or cruel, generous or selfish, travels outward and shapes both our world and our mind. Over time, the patterns of our choices create the shape of our life. Buddhism calls this bhava, the becoming, how our mental habits literally construct the world we live in. Yet karma isn't fatalism. It doesn't say, you suffer because you deserve it. It says, you're experiencing the result of causes, and you can plant new causes now. That distinction changes everything. If karma were destiny, life would be a prison. But because karma is dynamic, life becomes a classroom. You can't erase the ripples you've already sent, but you can influence the waves you create next. Every moment is a fresh opportunity to redirect the flow. Buddhist psychology makes an important point. Intention, sadhana, is the seed of karma. Two people can perform the same act, say, giving money, but the inner motive changes everything. Giving to impress others sows a different seed than giving out of compassion. The field of karma is sensitive to the heart. That's why transformation doesn't require grand gestures. It begins with small shifts in motivation. In modern terms, think of karma as neuroplasticity for the soul. Each repetition of a thought or reaction strengthens a pathway. Get angry every time things go wrong, and the mind becomes wired for anger. Pause, breathe, and respond with patience, and a new groove is carved. Karma isn't stored somewhere outside of us. It's etched into the tendencies we reinforce day after day. The future isn't waiting to happen. It's being rehearsed in every choice we make. Many people struggle with the unfairness they see. Good people suffer. Corrupt ones thrive. Buddhism doesn't deny this complexity. It teaches that karma operates across vast networks of causes and conditions. Not everything you experience is solely your personal doing. Just as a single wave is shaped by wind, tide, and current, each event in your life arises from countless interwoven forces, personal actions, collective patterns, and environmental causes. Understanding this helps us move from blame to wisdom. The most liberating insight is that karma is not fixed. The past cannot be undone, but its momentum can be transformed. Every mindful decision weakens the grip of old habits. Each act of kindness interrupts cycles of harm that may have been repeating for generations. You can't control every outcome, but you can purify your intention, and that's where freedom begins. So the real question isn't, what did I do to deserve this? But, what can I learn? And what will I create next? The Buddha's path isn't about superstition or fear, it's about conscious authorship. You are not a victim of your past ripples. You are the one holding the pebble now. And the lake is waiting. 3. Attachment and letting go. In Buddhist philosophy, attachment is one of the most subtle and persistent roots of suffering. It isn't love itself that hurts us, it's our insistence that love, people, and circumstances must remain exactly as we wish. The Buddha called this grasping upadana, the clinging that keeps the wheel of suffering turning. It's the invisible hand that tries to freeze what is constantly moving. When we fall in love, we want that feeling to last forever. When success arrives, we want to hold it still. But life refuses to obey. People change, fortunes shift, bodies age, and moments dissolve. The more we fight impermanence, the more we bleed. It's like trying to hold onto a handful of water. The tighter the grip, the faster it escapes. True pain begins not when something ends, but when we can't accept that it must. Letting go, however, is one of the most misunderstood ideas in spiritual life. It doesn't mean detachment in the cold or indifferent sense. The Buddha never taught us to numb our hearts. Letting go means loving more purely, without the demand for permanence, without turning love into possession. It's the difference between holding a flower gently in your palm and tearing it from the soil to keep it forever. The first honors its life, the second ends it. There's a saying in the Zen tradition, when you release, you receive. That's because grasping is rooted in fear, the fear of loss, loneliness, or uncertainty. But fear shrinks the soul. When you loosen your hold, space opens, and that space becomes the field of peace. The truth is, we never really own anything, not even our bodies or identities. Everything we have is temporarily on loan from the universe. When we recognize that, gratitude replaces anxiety. Modern psychology echoes this wisdom. The more we attach our sense of self to external things, status, possessions, relationships, the more fragile our peace becomes. Each attachment is a potential hostage situation for our happiness. Buddhism invites us to reverse that equation, make inner stability your anchor, and let outer things come and go naturally. You can love deeply, work passionately, and still remain free, because your joy no longer depends on control. Letting go is a lifelong practice, not a single act. Sometimes it looks like forgiveness, releasing the story of how things should have been. Sometimes it's simply breathing through uncertainty without reaching for guarantees. And sometimes, it's daring to love again, knowing even this love will change. The point is not to escape life, but to participate in it without chains. When you truly let go, nothing is lost. What falls away is illusion, the belief that clinging could ever save you. What remains is clarity, tenderness, and the quiet strength of an open hand. Because peace doesn't arrive when everything stays, it arrives when you no longer need it to. 4. Acceptance and flow. Acceptance, in the Buddhist sense, is not resignation, it is insight. It is the quiet understanding that life unfolds according to causes and conditions far greater than our personal plans. The Buddha called this dependent origination. Everything arises from countless interwoven factors, none of which we can fully control. When we see this clearly, our constant resistance to what is begins to soften. Acceptance is not the death of effort, it is the birth of wisdom. Think about how much energy we spend trying to bend life to our will. We call certain events good and others bad, depending only on how they serve our immediate desires. But the story of the old farmer and his horse reminds us that we never truly know. What seems like fortune today may turn to hardship tomorrow. And what breaks your heart today may one day save your life. Time reveals the pattern that judgment cannot see. In the modern world, where control is glorified, acceptance sounds like weakness. Yet in Buddhism, it is a form of strength, the ability to stay upright even when the ground shifts. The lotus does not resist the muddy water around it, it grows through it. Acceptance is that same intelligence of nature at work within the human heart. It says, let life be life, and you will find your place within it. Psychologically, non-acceptance is a form of inner war. We replay the past, rewrite conversations, or forecast disasters, endlessly arguing with reality. This mental struggle consumes our peace because reality always wins. Acceptance doesn't mean approving of injustice or giving up on change. It simply means we stop fighting with the fact that this is what is happening right now. Only from that clear seeing can effective action arise. The practice begins in small, ordinary moments. Being stuck in traffic, losing a job, feeling misunderstood. Each is an invitation to pause and breathe. To say silently, this too is part of the path. The instant you stop insisting that the world conform to your expectations, you reclaim energy that was lost in resistance. That energy becomes calm awareness, the space where wisdom lives. Over time, this shift changes everything. You begin to notice that behind every disruption lies a deeper order. Subtle but constant, like a current beneath waves. The rain falls because it must, and so do the storms of our lives. But each passing storm nourishes some unseen growth within us. Acceptance doesn't remove chaos, it reveals coherence. In this way, the act of surrender becomes the highest form of participation. You are no longer trying to dominate life, you are dancing with it. When you stop fighting the river, you discover it's been carrying you all along. 5. Adversity and growth. Adversity, from a Buddhist perspective, is not a curse, it is the curriculum of awakening. In the same way a butterfly must struggle to break free from its cocoon. Our challenges are the resistance that strengthens the wings of the mind. Without friction, there is no growth. Without suffering, there is no depth. The Buddha never promised a life free from pain. He promised understanding, a way to see pain as a teacher rather than an enemy. When you look back on your life, the moments that shaped you were rarely the easy ones. It's the heartbreaks that taught compassion, the failures that revealed humility, the losses that forced you to see what truly matters. In Buddhism, this process is not punishment, it's purification. Just as fire refines gold, adversity burns away illusion, the belief that life should always go our way. That happiness depends on comfort. This doesn't mean we should romanticize suffering. Pain, by itself, does not make us wise. What transforms suffering into growth is mindfulness, the ability to stay present with discomfort long enough to see what it's trying to teach us. Most people react to pain with denial, anger, or escape, but when we stay, when we breathe through the ache and listen, we begin to sense the deeper invitation. Wake up. Every difficulty carries a hidden question. Who are you becoming through this? A breakup might be asking you to find strength in solitude. A professional failure might be redirecting you toward authenticity. An illness might be urging you to slow down and live deliberately. The universe is not punishing, it's prompting. From the Buddhist view, the mind itself is malleable. Suffering reveals where it's still rigid, where attachment and ego are holding on. Each time we face pain consciously, the mind becomes more flexible, more compassionate, more real. This is why some of the most peaceful people you'll ever meet are those who have walked through immense loss. They have learned that brokenness can become openness if you stop fighting the break. Western psychology calls this post-traumatic growth, but ancient Buddhism has spoken of it for millennia. The Bodhisattva ideal, the being who transforms personal pain into compassion for all, is the ultimate expression of this truth. Instead of asking, "Why me?" the Bodhisattva asks, "How can this help me understand the suffering of others?" Through that shift, wounds become wisdom. So when hardship arrives, the question is not how to avoid it but how to meet it. Can we face it with curiosity instead of resistance? Can we trust that something within us is being forged? The butterfly's wings form in darkness. The same is true for the soul. The very thing that once felt like breaking you may, in time, reveal itself as the force that set you free. 6. Mindfulness. Living in the present. Mindfulness, or sati in Pali, is often misunderstood as a technique for relaxation. But in its truest sense, it is the art of returning home to the present moment. The Buddha taught that our suffering doesn't come from what's happening now, it comes from our absence from what's happening now. The mind is a restless traveler, endlessly wandering between the ghosts of the past and the fantasies of the future. Yet life, real, vivid, breathing life, only ever unfolds in this single, fleeting moment we call now. When you truly observe how your mind moves, you'll see how rarely you are present. You might be eating breakfast while thinking about work, or talking to a friend while rehearsing what you'll say next. The body is here, but the mind is elsewhere. The practice of mindfulness is the gentle, repeated act of calling the mind back, not by force, but with kindness. When you eat, just eat. When you breathe, just breathe. This simplicity is revolutionary because it breaks the illusion that peace lies somewhere else. In modern life, distraction has become our default state. Every notification, every unfinished thought pulls us away from ourselves. Buddhism calls this state monkey mind, always jumping, never resting. Mindfulness is how we train the monkey to sit still, to observe rather than react. It's not about stopping thought, but about recognizing thought as thought, clouds passing through the sky of awareness. The sky doesn't chase or cling, it simply witnesses. At its heart, mindfulness is an act of love. When you bring attention to a single breath, you are saying to yourself, I am here, and this moment matters. That presence transforms even the most ordinary things, a sip of tea, the warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of footsteps, into gateways of peace. You start realizing that the extraordinary was always hidden inside the ordinary, waiting for you to finally notice. Neuroscience now confirms what the Buddha observed millennia ago. When we practice awareness, the brain rewires itself. Stress responses quiet down, compassion circuits strengthen, and clarity increases. But beyond the science lies something deeper, a shift in identity. Through mindfulness, we stop being the storm and become the sky. We no longer drown in thoughts, we watch them come and go with gentle curiosity. In that awareness, the past loses its grip and the future loses its threat. You begin to feel the simplicity of existence itself, breath rising, breath falling, heart beating, life flowing, nothing missing, nothing extra. Mindfulness doesn't promise escape from reality, it offers intimacy with it. And in that intimacy, peace is not something to achieve, it's something that's revealed. So next time you lift a cup of tea, pause for one breath before you drink. Feel the warmth in your hands, the scent rising, the presence of this unrepeatable moment. That tiny act of awareness is enlightenment in miniature, the moment you stop running and simply arrive. 7. Transformation of the mind. Transformation of the mind is the heart of the Buddhist path, the point where understanding turns into liberation. The Buddha never claimed that we could control the world, he taught that we could transform the mind that experiences it. It's not what happens that binds us, it's the lens through which we see it. When that lens is clouded by fear, anger, or craving, the world appears hostile and broken. When it's polished by mindfulness and compassion, the same world glows with clarity. The external hasn't changed, we have. This is why Buddhism calls the mind both the creator and destroyer of reality. With our thoughts we make the world. Says the Dhammapada, every perception is filtered through habit, memory, and emotion. Someone criticizes us, and instantly old stories flare up. I'm not good enough. But in that moment, if we pause and see the thought instead of becoming it, something miraculous happens, the chain breaks. Awareness steps in, and suffering loses its authority. Transformation begins not by adding more knowledge but by unlearning the illusions that keep us reactive. We are trained from birth to chase pleasure and avoid pain, to grasp what we want and push away what we fear. The mind becomes like turbulent water, constantly stirred, unable to reflect truth. Meditation, or bhavana, is the practice of stilling that water. When the mind settles, reality reveals itself naturally, just as the sky reflects perfectly in a calm lake. Many people imagine enlightenment as a flash of light or an otherworldly experience. But the deeper teachings suggest something quieter. Enlightenment is the absence of distortion. It's when anger no longer poisons perception, when greed no longer dictates action, when delusion no longer confuses what is. In that clarity, compassion arises effortlessly because we see things as they truly are, interconnected, impermanent, alive. The process is gradual, like dawn slowly dissolving the night. You notice moments of awareness appearing where once there was automatic reaction. Someone insults you, and instead of immediate defense, you feel curiosity. You begin to witness thoughts as passing clouds, emotions as waves that rise and fall. Each recognition weakens the old patterns of conditioning. Over time, the mind that once enslaved you becomes the very instrument of freedom. What's remarkable is that this transformation doesn't require special conditions. It can happen while washing dishes, walking, or speaking to a friend. Every moment offers a chance to notice, to step back and see the mind's movements without being swept away. This simple noticing is revolution disguised as calm. And the fruit of that calm is wisdom. The realization that peace was never dependent on the world being perfect. It was waiting beneath the noise all along. When the lake of the mind becomes still, it mirrors the vastness of the sky, open, luminous, boundless. That is awakening. Not the creation of something new, but the recognition of what was always here. When life feels heavy, when the world trembles with storms, when the headlines bleed with war and loss, when the air itself seems filled with sorrow, it's easy to believe we've been abandoned by grace. But even in the darkest hour, the Buddha's compassion still echoes through time, whispering, in the midst of suffering, awaken your heart. Let your pain become the doorway to understanding. May all beings be free from fear. May all beings find peace. These words are not ancient poetry, they are living medicine. They remind us that, no matter how far the world seems to drift from light, the potential for peace remains within us. Each of us can be a quiet lamp in the darkness, with one kind thought, one mindful breath, one act of mercy. The Buddha never promised that storms would stop. He promised that, through awareness, we could learn to stand in the rain and still see the beauty of the sky. So if today you are carrying something painful, grief, uncertainty, exhaustion, know this: it is not meaningless. Every experience, bright or dark, holds a lesson meant only for you. Sometimes the teaching is patience. Sometimes it's surrender. Sometimes it's the simple reminder to keep breathing until the light returns. Life is not asking you to be perfect, only to stay present. To keep growing. To keep your heart open even when it hurts. Take a slow, deliberate breath. And another. And one more. As you exhale, release the weight that isn't yours to carry. As you inhale, let compassion rise, not just for yourself, but for every being living under the same sky. Tonight, let this channel, Dharma Veins, be a space of refuge for you and for all who wander. A place where wisdom meets tenderness, where ancient truths meet modern hearts. Every story here, every reflection, is a reminder that we are connected through struggle, through love, through the shared wish to be free. If this message has touched you, pause for a moment before leaving. Close your eyes. Breathe 3 mindful breaths. Let gratitude fill the space where worry used to live. Then, when you're ready, share your voice below. What difficult experience in your life helped you grow the most? Your story might become the light someone else needs tonight. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Dharma Veins, not just to watch another video, but to return each week to a few quiet minutes of peace, reflection, and healing. May all beings, in every corner of this trembling world, find shelter from the storms of suffering. May those touched by war, loss, or disaster be surrounded by compassion. May the wounded hearts of humanity remember their strength. And may we all, in our own small ways, keep the flame of wisdom alive. Lotus peace to you, peace to the earth, and peace to every living being. Welcome home, dear friend.